Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Pots and Petals here, everything garden and allotment related. It is Saturday morning, it's about 8 o'clock and I'll tell you what, it is bloody cold down here, but we are in for a beautiful day. Just looking at the sky, there's not a cloud in sight, it's blue and the sun is shining. So I'm hoping that the sun's going to pop out and start warming up that soil a little bit before I start getting my hands dirty. I've got about 4 layers on because I tell you what, it is quite nippy down here today, but now that we've entered November, that does mean we can have a little campfire. So we're going to build our first fire of the year today, warm ourselves up with a cup of coffee, and then we can start getting stuck into some of the bits in the garden. I feel like I repeat myself over and over, but we've still got loads of beds that I need to clear up ready for winter, and we have got a lot of bark chipping also that needs to be done. Loads of the plants are now starting to die back now that we've had our first frost, so I think I'm going to go round and give them all a bit of a tidy up as well, do some deadheading and just cut back some of those shrubs and some of those plants. I've also got a load of alliums that I really need to get into the ground soon, and they're going to be going into the flower beds, so that does mean I need to try and think about clearing those beds as well. As always, I'm sure there's going to be other bits and bobs that we find along the way, but first, let's warm ourselves up with a nice cup of coffee, a little campfire, and then we can start cracking on. I don't know if you can hear that, but listen, I just came into the shed and I thought, what the hell is making that noise? But this little guy has got stuck. Look how beautiful he is. So I'm going to brave myself, stick my finger in, and hope it don't get bitten by a massive spider. See if we can rescue this little guy. Come on, mate. There we go. Hey, you're a pretty guy. These guys do hibernate over winter, but he was in a spider's nest, so I don't think he meant to be there, but I'm a bit worried that he might have tried to be hunkering down for winter. So I am just going to try and find him a new little spot somewhere in this shed. Excuse the mess, this is my second shed. It is a bit of a dumping ground in here, so he's not going to be disturbed. You see him? I've just popped him there, so I'm hopeful that he'll find somewhere to hunker down for the rest of winter, but not in a spider's nest, bless him. Now that we've got this fire going, it is lovely and toasty round here. I don't think I'm going to want to leave the fire to go and do some work. We've got a cup of coffee here as well, so yeah, I am just going to warm up a little bit, and then we'll start doing some weeding and some bits and bobs in the garden. The one thing I do love about getting down here really early is all the birds. I hear so many birds, all different types. We got blue tits, long-tailed tits. We've got song thrush, robins, blackbirds. We do get an incredible amount of different birds down here, and just sitting here listening to all the different bird songs, it's just beautiful. So I'm just going to spend 10-15 minutes, sit here, and then we really must start cracking on. Oh, one little thing that I must do before we crack on with anything is let's have a little look inside the polyhouse to see how well it's kept the heat in. I know it's definitely got below zero because everything was a little bit frosty this morning. So yeah, let's go and take a look. So it's got up to 22.3 degrees Celsius and it hasn't dropped below 0. So 0.5, that's still pretty cold in here, but I think by us closing up that window at the far end, it's definitely had an effect. I have noticed a couple of holes in the roof as well. So I've got some of the special sellotape, which is basically the plastic that's used on the polyhouse, but it comes in a special tape that you can use to patch up. So I'll see if I can hunt that out, and we can definitely do that today. This time of year, you're going to notice that your rhubarb is going to start dying back. It's probably been dying back over the last month or so, but when the nights start to get colder, you really will notice the difference with your rhubarb. Now, a lot of the leaves have already died and been taken into the soil, but this time of year, I do like to go around and just mop up some of the bigger ones that have gone a bit floppy and a little bit soggy. The last thing you want to do is actually pull these rhubarb leaves from the crown itself, because as they die down, they're going to put the nutrients back into the crown for you. And the more nutrients and the more energy going back into the crown just means you're going to get much more healthier plants next year. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a tidy up with all the soggy ones, pop them onto the compost heap, but these lovely big green leaves I will keep on the plants for a little while longer. So one of the jobs I did think about doing today was giving this a really good weed over and removing all of that nigella, because if you remember last year we just had way too much of it. However, my thought process now is, because we're entering winter, this nigella is actually acting as a little bit of a protective layer, so I think I'm going to keep it as it is until springtime, and then we can give it a real good tidy up. The other reason why I did want to get this little area sorted was because I've got loads of allium bulbs to pot up. But I think I'm just going to pop them in a bed this year, and because they're bulbs, I can just move them around next year where I want them. I think I'm going to give this bed another month or so before I start doing anything to it. Look, a lot of the dahlias, they're now starting to go over as well, but they haven't yet flopped over, so they are going to be some form of habitat for some insects for a little while longer. And down here we haven't got half as many nigella, but we've got loads of foxgloves, loads and loads of forget-me-nots, and I'm sure we'll have some other pretty flowers in there as well. That does mean we've now got to find some bed for the alliums. Down here we have the allium bulbs that I need to plant out as soon as possible really. Please ignore the packaging, as little Ratty had a little nibble and had made a home in the box that I'd stored these in. Now if you want more detail about the spring bulbs that I've grown this year, just go back a few videos about a month ago where I went through the different 25 varieties that I've got. And these are just the alliums that I've got left over. You want to be planting out your allium bulbs anytime really between September and November, and they will flower the following May or June. You'll find that alliums come in purples, blues and whites, but some of the purples do tend to be a little bit pink. We've got quite a few different varieties down here, and a majority of them are purple. So as for the purple, we've got Purple Rain, Purple Sensation, Allium Giganteum and also Allium Christophii. Now the Allium Giganteum, they're quite tall plants and they can reach about 1 metre in height, whereas the Christophii is a little bit smaller, but the purple is almost a pink. And then we've also got some small little drumstick varieties. Now these shouldn't really grow about 30 centimetres tall, and we've got a blue and a white variety. So the little blue one, I think you pronounce it Carulium, and then the white one is Graceful Beauty. So I'll pop these somewhere where they'll be at the front of the bed so that we can really see them. Great thing about alliums is they make beautiful cut flowers, but you can also dry them out and they'll last a lot longer. So I think I'm going to stick these in one of the box beds next to the tulips, and then next year we can think about planting them out in the beds. Giving this bed a good weed over, and we're going to plant the taller ones in the middle and the smaller ones towards the outside of the box. Now when planting any spring bulbs, you want the depth to be about 2.5 times the height of the bulb. So the bigger the bulb, the deeper your hole is going to be. have to bear with the sun this time of year. No matter what angle I get you at, it just seems to be quite glary. But anyway, I want to try and focus on these 3 beds today as we're working our way down the plot, sorting out the paths and the beds. So we've got the pineberry bed, and that needs a real good tidy up and a weed, along with the beetroot bed. Now the beets didn't seem to do too well this year, as I think the artichokes blocked out quite a lot of the sunshine. And then in the other raised bed we have got the carrots, and that's not looking too bad at the moment, but we've definitely got some carrots for Christmas this year. Looking at the artichoke, that is starting to die back now, so we're going to give that a real good chop because all of the goodness has gone back down into the tubers by now. Try not to cut them back too early, as this can affect the size of your tubers. Now I'm going to be leaving my tubers in this year because I just want them to try and multiply out a little bit more. Now I was going to use some of the green manure in the carrot and the beetroot bed, but as I'm going to be using it for carrots next year, I don't want there to be too many nutrients in that soil because that can cause the carrots to fork. What I might do is I might use the cuttings from the artichoke just to protect the soil over winter, and then whatever still remains there in the spring we can just chuck on the compost heap. There we go, looking a lot neater and a lot tidier. So we're giving the pine berries a really good weed over so you can see what's in that bed now. And then the beetroot bed, like I say, I've just cut down all of those artichokes and I've just laid them on top just to help protect them, especially with the really harsh rainfall that we can get, especially in the winter. And not only that, it's going to provide a little bit of habitat, and I've already put a couple of ladybirds in there and they might hibernate. And then in the springtime, anything that's still left there, because some of it is quite woody, we'll just chuck that straight onto the compost bin. And then the carrots, well, they didn't need much at all, it was pretty weed free in there. Then finally I just gave all of the paths a real good weed over, but now we need to go and get some wood chips so that we can give it a good old mulch. I've given all of the paths a real good mulch over. Now it's not the chunkiest of wood chip that I've ever had, but to be fair, beggars cannot be choosers. So this is the special tape I was talking about, and it's basically the same material as the polyhouse, but it just comes in a sellotape form. All I'm going to do is just dry off these holes where the condensation has started to form, and then we're just going to patch them up with some of this sellotape. Now I'm hoping this is going to stop the cold from creeping in, and it will keep the heat from escaping. That's all we've got time for today, folks. I've had to pop in my car because somebody started up a strimmer, so you won't really be able to hear me over the noise. So I'm going to give up filming today, but don't worry, I'm going to be back down here tomorrow because there's still plenty of jobs that I need to get done. I did want to try and sow some green manure today, but we can do that tomorrow, and also some deadheading, and there's still plenty of beds that I need to give a real good weed over. I'd also like to try and focus on some of the paths and get them mulched because that really does take quite a lot of my time. So hopefully, guys, I will see you down here tomorrow for another adventure down on the plot. But in the meantime, do take care and don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you tomorrow. So take care, guys. See you later. Bye bye.